reboots, base building, and undead vegetables? Here are the 10 best zombie games to play in 2019. We've already collected a list of the very best zombie games of all time on PC, but the thing is, they just keep coming. Just like the undead themselves, zombie games keep shuffling onwards, evolving the infection or casually reinventing the genre for their own benefit. And that's why we've cobbled together this list from discarded body parts and decided what the best undead shamble-ups are to play on PC. And be prepared for a few surprises. It's not all guns and guts. Here are the 10 best PC zombie games to play in 2019. There was a time in the not too distant past when we wondered if zombies were finally finished, if the dead trying to eat the living was so familiar as to be utterly mundane. Then the Resident Evil 2 remake burst through our boarded windows and showed us just how horrible zombies can still be. Perhaps the most impressive thing here is that the zombies in Resi 2 are terrifying for the entire duration of the game. You know how it is, they're scary at the start when you've only got half a bullet casing and a butter knife to defend yourself, but they're toast when you get to the bigger guns. Wrong. Even in the Resi 2 endgame, it's hard to suppress a horrified sigh when you see a room full of lolloping deadheads. And yes, you can run past them, but one of Resi 2's smartest tricks is throwing lickers into the mix, who'll hear you whenever you sprint. Try running around the zombies now. Who cares if it came out, checks calendar, 6 years after the movie of the same name, based on the 2006 book of the same name? World War Z was a wonderful, rotting surprise this year. Sure, 4-player squad-based zombie shooting isn't reinventing the gory, fleshy wheel, but that's not really the point. These fast-paced zombies up the tension significantly, and then there's the fact that if they can't find stairs, they'll just build themselves into a rotting pile and climb walls like ants. Nope, not terrifying at all. The sheer volume of the infected here is a treat, and you can construct various traps and turrets to make every fight feel like humanity's last stand against the undead. The guns are fun, and sure, it screams Left 4 Dead 2, but that's definitely no bad thing when it comes to taking on the end of the world with your friends. Help me! When you think of State of Decay 2, the first thing that pops into many people's heads is the amount of time that we had to wait for it. But that's rather unfair to a game that does an excellent line in post-apocalypse base building. It's pitched as the ultimate open-world zombie survival game in which you and 3 friends can team up to create a community of survivors. And while the undead are a constant gnawing threat, it's the decisions that make State of Decay 2 so compelling. You have to manage resources, send out scavengers, and manage the relationships with your neighbours, either by joining an alliance with them or deciding that maybe, just maybe, you need their supplies more than their friendship. It's a revealing take on how you'd survive the end of days, and a nice change from endless headshots or jump scares. Has no one ever thought about the fact that zombies might not be awful at all, but just really, really hangry? Well, that's a question that Overcooked 2's DLC, Night of the Hangry Horde, explores as you cook up a storm in the kitchen while fending off slews of evil vegetables. Yes, super evil. Who knew that a carrot could look this nefarious? Instead of just serving up food as standard, the Hangry Horde means you're cooking for the starving zombie-likes outside who are hammering down boarded up windows in search of grub. Make orders in time for them and they'll go away and let you rebuild your defences and do it all over again. This isn't just a great use of the word hangry, which honestly needs to be used more, but a tasty and inventive shuffle of the standard Overcooked chaotic kitchen mechanics. Nom. If you're fed up of constantly being on the ground, battling the infected and not looking at the bigger picture, They Are Billions is the game for you. You might not be able to see the individual humans losing their lives to the hordes, but from up here you have to manage defences and keep the last few thousand humans on Earth from becoming walking fast food. Finally out of early access, They Are Billions is now a complete and suitably stressful strategy sim and now has a full campaign as well as survival and horde modes. Building your steampunk city, balancing resources, hiring soldiers and watching for the next invasion is nail-biting stuff. If you truly want to put your zombie survival money where your mouth is, prepare for the true test of your apocalypse-beating skills. You can't just turn around, like me, and say that your survival technique would be Scotland, even if it is.
Let's get them!
Okay, so first things first, they're not exactly zombies, but it does seem unfair to neglect Strange Brigade's bandaged undead just because some of them come in special wrapping paper. I know that makes them mummies, but look how they shuffle, look how they look like weebles that won't fall down. Well, until they do. I mean, really, who is to tell this shuffling horde that they aren't actually as good as Romero's Hungry Brain Eaters? Certainly not us. Until we get Zombie Army 4 next year, Strange Brigade is an excellent, desperate shoot for survival fest, and there's even an amusing narrator to lighten the mood when the desiccated corpses all get a bit much.
Oh, heavens!
Plus, this is all the more fun to play with friends as you collect treasure that can't be shared and take on hordes of scorpions and armies of the undead. There's even the added fun of having to be let out of your own coffin if you die. You can't get much more zombie-like than that.
Blighters are wearing armour! How jolly unsporting of them!
If the drug-addled inhabitants of Far Cry 5's Hope County weren't quite undead enough for your Romero-esque tastes, don't panic. The Dead Living Zombies DLC is here with all the necrotic flesh you could ever dream of. Just as an aside though, please don't dream of necrotic flesh. Thankfully, the Dead Living Zombies doesn't just reskin the map with the undead and leave you to it. You're being steered by the horror movie-loving director, Guy Marvel, an invisible narrator constantly talking in your ear as you mow down the shamblers with your standard Far Cry weapons.
It's a foggy night, and
Make it a clear night. The lens flares will look much better.
yeah, I love it.
With a stack of bosses and tongue seriously in cheek missions, the Dead Living Zombies is an enjoyably zany trip back into last year's shooter. Plus, if you prefer a nuclear apocalypse to a zombie-packed one, all you have to do is load up Far Cry New Dawn. Isn't it nice to have a choice when it comes to the end of the world?
Toast!
If there's one thing that zombies love more than fresh human brains, it's social commentary. Want to watch a gory skewering of consumerism? Watch Dawn of the Dead or play Dead Rising. But what about the times you can't cope with how many energy drinks everyone's slugging like there's no tomorrow? Hello, Sunset Overdrive. These mutants aren't technically zombies, but you could always pretend that OD doesn't stand for overcharged drinkers, but original dead instead. In case you were wondering, this glowing caffeinated offering from Insomniac Games actually only came to PC late last year, so it's a perfect time to catch up with the previously Xbox exclusive action. Like the next entry on this list, half of the fun of Sunset Overdrive is crossing the map in new and inventive ways as you hurtle down ziplines and fire ludicrous weaponry. Who knew that the apocalypse could be this much fun? Okay, so now you've arrived at the part of the list that features two zombie games so good that it's impossible not to add them to every list. First off, as you can see, is Dying Light, a sprawling open-world free-running sandbox that's a bit like if you added the undead to Assassin's Creed. Fine, it's not exactly like that, but if you haven't played the original, seen how Dying Light 2 looks and how far off we are, then you might have just found the perfect way to spend your time until early 2020. The terrifying day and night cycle here is a real treat, and there's just so much to do. While running across rooftops is fun, battling the infected is a brilliant way to pass the time, and Dying Light's seemingly never-ending DLC means that you'll always find something new to do, to let you zap your way through hordes of the undead. This lot don't need caffeine to feel, well, wired. How is Left 4 Dead 2 this good 10 years, yes, 10 years after release? And how is it here on this list of the best zombie games to play in 2019? Well, those questions kind of answer each other. If you want to team up with some friends and experience the ultimate fight for survival against endless zombies, there's still nothing to beat Left 4 Dead 2. Sure, if you'd rather be killing rats than reanimated clowns, that's all the nightmares in one package, so thanks for that. Then Vermintide Cry 2 is more cutting edge. But if it's the best version of Valve's reactive, grasping Horde survival game you're after, then Left 4 Dead 2 is as good now as it was a decade ago. The fact that no two games are the same probably helps. Find 3 trusted friends and you can play this for long enough to outlast any IRL zombie apocalypse. Stay down. There, we're done. Double tap that like button if any of these choices surprised you, insert your own jump scare analogy here, and remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you know when our next video rises from the grave. I mean, goes live, just to be clear.